Wanderlust Productions. Video blog.
So the number one question that I get all the time is, how did you get started and how do you meet these people? So today I want to answer those two questions for you. Again, we're kind of doing this for those of you who want to do this kind of thing, maybe want to, God's put something on your heart to go and film, and so we're going to kind of try to help you along as best we can. But okay, let's answer those two questions. The first question, how did you get started? Well, if you haven't heard my full story, I'm sure you can find it online. It's actually on our website, I think. Go in the press section or something like that. And it all really started when I had an angelic encounter a few years ago. But as far as the actual production side of things, basically, I made Finger of God pretty much by myself. I had one camera. Sometimes I would borrow two. I borrowed cameras from Judson University, the school where I teach, and occasionally would take friends to go with me to different shoots, just so I could have another body and not be lonely. But for the most part, it was just me going places, not necessarily knowing why I was going there, just going because I heard there's amazing stuff happening, and that's pretty much how I put the whole movie together. I would hear about people. I was new to the whole world. A lot of what I did is in what I guess some people would consider more the charismatic realm, and I was brand new to that. I kind of grew up as a Baptist, but so I would hear about people. I have a few friends now. I've got a lot of friends around the world who I trust and who aren't looking to kind of build their ministries off of what I'm doing. They just love me and are always looking out for me, and they'll a lot of times refer me to people. And so now I don't film anybody who comes to me. It's kind of a rule that I've made. If you approach me to film your ministry, I'm not going to do it, just because I don't know your motives. So I work pretty much off referral now, and it's kind of how I started out as well. It's just I would hear about different people around the world, and I'd basically, most of the time I would send an email, just a cold email, and say, hey, I'm making a movie. Would you be willing to say yes? And it's funny, I owe Bill Johnson a lot, because he was the first one to say yes. But it's kind of funny, he didn't really have a choice. And this is a really good tip. If you can get somebody to film with you, try to find somebody who's respected by his peers, and then trick him into filming with you. That's what I did. So how I did this is he was actually coming. The church where I grew up in Michigan was hosting a conference, and they had Bill coming to speak. And so I approached my church, not Bill, because Bill would probably just be like, I don't know who you are. No. But I approached my church and said, hey, I'm making this movie, could I have like 30 minutes interviewing Bill Johnson? And so they created a schedule when he came, and so they just put in the schedule, 30 minutes interview with Darren. And I remember him sitting down, and it was my very first interview, like ever, and it was Bill Johnson. And he'd just gotten off the plane. He was super jet lagged, and I was nervous as I've probably ever been in my life. Didn't know what I was doing, and he was just the most gracious guy in the world, though, and he's nailed the interview. Probably one of the best interviews I've ever done. But that's how I started, and then for me, once Bill Johnson said yes, then a lot of other people started saying yes, because I think they figured, well, if Bill trusts this kid, then I guess we can too. Even though what they don't know is that Bill really didn't have much of a choice in the matter. It all worked out in the end. And then, like with Heidi Baker, I just sent her an email. I didn't even know much about her. I'd heard about her. I'd heard about some crazy stuff happening out there in Mozambique, and I sent her an email. It took like 2 months to hear back from her. And when I heard back, it was just out of the blue, and she said, sure, if you're willing to buy a plane ticket to come on out and film with us. And when I got out there, I remember talking to her about, we were on our way to the bush somewhere, and we were talking in the car, and I had mentioned, I was getting kind of nervous because I sent her an email and I never heard back from her, and I was wondering if she got it. She told me that she got my email right away, and I was like, well, what took you so long to reply to me? And she said, well, I was praying about it. So little did I know that she didn't want me to come, that she didn't want anybody to come, because it's just real easy for filmmakers to skew things and make things look weird. And she didn't know who I was, and what they're doing there is pretty amazing, and they didn't want anybody to kind of screw it up. So, but yeah, the Lord, she was praying about it, and she originally wanted to say no, but the Lord kind of prompted her and said, let this one in, let this one come. And so she was obedient, and she let me come, and the rest is history. I kind of knew when I was going to Africa, I knew I had a real movie on my hands. That's when you officially have made it as a documentary filmmaker, when you go to Africa. But yeah, so that's kind of how I started, and to this day, that's pretty much how I work. I hear, I've got friends in interesting places, and so I will hear all kinds of stories, and I only pursue the ones where I feel the Lord kind of telling me to, and how that works for me, it might be different for everybody else. I don't just blindly go, wherever, whatever just sounds good. For me, it's got to be, I kind of have, the best way to describe it, I feel it in my spirit, in my gut, and I'll hear about something, and then it's the same feeling I get every time, so that's how I know. It feels almost like you're on a roller coaster. How when you're in your gut, it's kind of like it's like, oh, kind of thing. And that's what I'll feel when either somebody is speaking or I'm hearing somebody tell me a story. My gut will do that, and that's when I know I need to ask this person if I can film with them. So that's pretty much how I decide. I hear a lot more stories than I could ever film, but the ones that I actually choose to film, they're very much it's the Lord telling me to do it. And most of the time, I don't even know why I'm going to film. I don't know how it's going to fit into the film. So I just go and I be obedient, because I just know in the end I'm gonna lock myself in the editing room for 2 months, and the Lord's gonna show me why He had me film. So at this point, it's all about trust. It's all about obedience. So I guess advice to new filmmakers: how do you do this? How do you contact people? Well, I would say contact people. However you need to contact them. Don't be afraid to send an email. Don't be afraid to make a phone call, but just pursue whoever it is the Lord's putting on your heart. Contact them, and if the Lord's in it, then He will open the door for you, even if you have no contact other than their basic email. So I guess that would be my first piece of advice, is listen for the Lord's leading, and then just ask.